Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Now, we have already discussing different aspects of drugs used in as chemotherapy, we can say. Now, we are going to see the very important group of drugs which are used in a very common problem, that is malaria. And no doubt still it is very common in our region of the world. So that is why it's very important not only to study but to know antimalarials, because it is very important clinically and as far as the examination point of view also. And then again, for your convenience, we have divided this topic into three parts, and today we are going to see the first part of antimalarials. In this part actually we will see actually what is the prevalence of this malaria all over the world, why it is important, and at the same time, most importantly, we will go through the life cycle of the parasites, because that is important to know the mechanism of action of various types of antimalarial at the same time. And number two, different groups which are useful at different stages of the life cycle of the parasites. Now, there are some important essentials for the diagnosis of the malaria. Obviously, the history of exposure to infective Anopheles mosquito in a malarial endemic area. Second, if the attack is intermittent in nature of chills, fever and sweating, most probably it will help to think about the malaria. The associated symptom of malaria will be there: headache, myalgia, vomiting, etc. But if it stays for some days longer, there may be splenomegaly, patient may suffer from anemia, thrombocytopenia, etc. And at the same time, intraerythrocytic parasites may be identified in the thick or the thin blood smears, or there may be some positive rapid diagnostic test also. We must also remember the complications, especially of the falciparum type of malaria, in which cerebral malaria is more important. Such patient may also suffer from severe anemia and hypertension also, or they may suffer from some sort of pulmonary edema, even acute kidney injury, acute renal injury, and hypoglycemia, acidosis and hemolysis. We must remember malaria remains among the top 5 causes of death among children younger than 5 years of age all over the world. 91% of deaths occur under 5 years of age, especially in Africa. Usually we have seen that a child dies every 1 minute from malaria if mathematics is considered. We have seen that malaria can cause about roughly 4 to 10 million missed days of this school each year. So much damage to the learning and the teaching to the students occur. And we have seen annually about 216 million of people suffer from malaria. And at the same time, in Africa especially, 40% of the health resources are spent to treat malaria. If you see in this graph worldwide death rate in the malaria, and we can see in the year 2003 malaria was the largest killer world over regarding children, especially the younger age group. Especially we have seen about 98% under the age of 5. And remember, first killer is the pneumonia and second killer is the diarrhea. That should also be kept in mind. So malaria is about third largest killer all over the world. Now, this was in 1900, all over the world except very few areas. There was no malarial transmission, otherwise all the world was suffering from malaria, and all the area or the whole world were trying to control this. Now, after more than a century, although the malaria less area all over the world has increased, but still we have seen more dark red indicating the controlling malaria, and at the same time pinkish, or we can say are less red area, are those areas which are showing in which elimination is occurring. And still I have seen white is showing no malaria, and we expect in the next 5 years the controlling malaria will be very much reduced, only few parts of the Africa, and all the remaining world including Pakistan and India, subcontinent, etc., they will be included in those areas which are eliminating the malaria. By 2040, we expect the whole world will be free from malaria. The area, no areas involved as far as malaria, so complete eradication will be there. Let's hope and let's pray from Allah Jalla Shanu that we can achieve this goal by 2040. The reason is because, actually remember, not only we will eradicate the vector, etc., the infecting mosquito, etc., but at the same time we know that malaria is 100% curable if it is treated in time. We know from our previous knowledge of even O level, A level, etc., or FSC metric, that malaria spread occur by the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. And 4 types of malaria we have seen, they are caused by 4 types of plasmodia. The most important one, the most in which fatalities occur, is the Plasmodium falciparum. The remaining are less damaging: Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, and Plasmodium malariae. Now, another important thing is that Plasmodium falciparum, if attacks in the non-human patient or during pregnancy, such cases should be treated immediately, because otherwise the outcome may be very fatal. While we have seen the remaining types, Plasmodium vivax infection has a very low mortality rate, even if it is not treated. However, the characteristic of Plasmodium vivax is the relapses of attacks coming again and again due to reactivation of the latent tissue form present in the liver. Plasmodium ovale also causes infection with the periodicity, and relapses occur similar to those vivax, but again it is a milder one. And malaria also a generally indolent infection. So clinical attacks may occur after years or after decades after infection. So all remaining 3 are comparatively less fatal. And the most fatal one, this is the MCQs also, I have a question also, the most fatal type is the Plasmodium falciparum. So because it is very dangerous, Plasmodium falciparum, it invades all invading erythromycin, but by invading erythrocytes, RBCs of any age, and then sequestration occur the vascular part and producing vasoactive products. This species can cause an overwhelming not only parasitemia, but there may also be hypoglycemia and patient may go into shock with, remember, multi-organ failure, kidney, etc. other also, and it is also may be manifested as cerebral malaria. So that is why Plasmodium falciparum must be addressed immediately. If treatment is delayed in this type, we are repeating again and again, death may occur. Now, important aspect, malarial effects in pregnancy. To the mother, obviously, mother may suffer from fever, parasitemia, anemia, cerebral malaria, hypoglycemia and purple sepsis. If not treated, death can occur. Fetus, so if mother is not treated, abortion may occur, or stillbirth, baby may be delivered as dead, or some congenital infection may be present in the fetus, and baby will be delivered with infection. And in the newborn, what we have seen, usually low birth weight is there, baby may be premature, or some intrauterine growth retardation we have seen. And again, if mother was not treated, or if this newborn is not properly handled regarding this malaria, death may occur in newborn also. So death is common in all stages: death of the mother, death of the fetus, death of the newborn. Common symptoms of malaria are obviously systemic effects are fever with chills and sweating on the skin, or nausea, vomiting in stomach, or after a few days to weeks, splenomegaly. And there may be some other associated symptom also: headache, fatigue, pain, dry cough, etc., etc. Now let's go to the life cycle of the malarial parasite. This is the asexual cycles of malarial parasite, which is occurring inside the human being. Obviously, sexual is occurring in the female mosquito, etc. Now, first of all, the infected mosquito, female mosquito, if it bites to the healthy human being, it can inject the sporozoite, which through circulation reaches to the liver, where it is present in the form of schizons. So tissue schizon, first primary schizon. It gets matures, and then merozoites are formed and merozoites are released from there. Now these merozoites, if released, enter into the blood, and they will go in search of RBCs, because they are very much in need of hemoglobin present in CD5. So they recognize the RBCs and they invade RBCs. In the RBCs, these merozoites become trophozoite again. This is erythrocytic schizon. First was hepatic schizon or the tissue schizon, and the second one here is now schizons formed into the inside the RBC. So erythrocytic schizon. So these schizons are the trophozoites, obviously. Then multiply in nature, and they produce new merozoites. And these merozoites will go on two sides. When RBC rupture, they are released to infect new RBCs on one hand. On second, few of the merozoites may be converted into gametocytes. So some merozoites become gametocytes. Now the infected person is carrying gametocyte in the blood, and when any female mosquito, now that may not be infected now, but when it will bite to this person and will suck the blood of this person, this female mosquito will become infected now. So, female mosquito sucks the gametocytes containing blood of an infected human and itself becomes infected. Now, it can bite to another healthy person, in this way spreading the malaria from one person to another. Remember, these trophozoites which are released from the RBC, they cannot go back to liver, no access to the liver from RBCs. Only two things: one, reinfect the new RBCs or convert it into gametocyte. We have just seen the infected mosquito bind to the healthy person, spores are released, and then obviously tissue schizons, primary tissue schizons, liver hepatic schizons are found. Now, these tissue schizons, obviously we can also call them exoerythrocytic schizon or exocytic stage also in relation to the erythrocytic stage. Remember, these are seen due to all plasmodia, all types of, 4 types of, and this stage may stay inside the liver for 1 week usually, from where then merozoites are released and primary attack starts. First of all, they will attack to RBCs and they will get accumulated on one side in the form of ring, also known as ring stage, ring form of merozoite, and gradually then erythrocytic schizon form. Multiplication occur of merozoites, and obviously they are released to attack new fresh RBCs, or they may be converted into gametocytes as we have seen previously. Erythrocytic stage. This stage lasts for 1 to 3 days. As we have seen, these merozoites either can go to attack new fresh RBC or they can form gametocyte. And then obviously uninfected mosquito sucks the blood and become infected. We have seen in especially Plasmodium vivax and ovale another type of schizon, secondary schizon, that is also formed. This schizon is different from the primary schizon, which is seen in all types. It stays there for weeks, for months and for years, and hypnozoites they form, and they can, after eradication, complete previous attacks, when they will be mature, they will be released and attacking the RBCs in the form of new attack of it. So, relapses occur with Plasmodium vivax especially. This is seen that we cannot treat unless we eradicate the secondary schizon present in the blood for months to years. So, that is very important. They can, because they can produce new acute attacks of malaria. Relapses occur. Now, let us see the malarial management. First of all, obviously preventive use of mosquito net or repellent, etc. However, if the attack occurs, antimalarial should be used. Those are primarily used to treat the malaria. As we have seen, I have told you why malarial parasite entered human RBCs, because malarial parasite wants to obtain essential amino acids present in the host hemoglobin, and obviously hemoglobin is present in RBC. So, the parasite enter into human RBCs in the search of hemoglobin and then digest it. But in this process, what happens? Large amount of heme is released due to the breakdown of hemoglobin. Remember, this heme is very, very toxic to the parasite itself and obviously to the RBCs also. But here, parasites when enter it digests hemoglobin, but at the same time it produces a large amount of heme which is toxic to itself also. Sorry. Now usually to protect itself, malaria parasite, from the toxic effects of human, the parasite polymerizes enzymatically this heme to non-toxic hemozyme. This hemozyme is then sequestered in the parasitic food vacuole. In Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium malariae infection, only one cycle of liver cell invasion and multiplication occurs. As we have seen previously, the remaining two, Plasmodium vivax and ovale, because secondary schizones are formed into the liver and relapses are typical in those conditions. So, here liver infection ceases spontaneously in less than 4 weeks when we treat the patient. See? So, treatment that eliminates the parasite will cure completely the infections due to Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium malariae. Now, let us see the classification of antimalarial. One of the most important was the therapeutic classification. That depends on the different stages of malaria parasite present inside. Now, clinical stage, obviously we treat it or prevent clinically symptomatic malaria. Here drugs will be, we will see that later on, again we will discuss it, but anyhow, artemisinin, chloroquine, mefloquine, quinine or its sister quinidine, then pyrimethamine, sulfadoxine and tetracycline. These are different types of drugs which are useful to treat or to prevent clinical stages. Second is to attack primary liver stage of Plasmodium falciparum. Atovaquone and proguanil, they can attack to the liver stage of the Plasmodium falciparum, primary schizone. But primary latent liver stages can also be, at the same time, gabritoside also, especially in the remaining two, Plasmodium vivax and ovale. Here, most important is the pyrimethamine or tafenoquine can also be used. And now, chemical classification. First group is quinolines. Remember, don't confuse with the quinolones. Quinolones was group discussed in the fluoroquinolone, etc., and antimicrobacterial, ciprofloxacin, ufloxacin, etc. But this is quinolines, and these are cinchona bark derivative. These are actually derived from the bark of the plant cinchona, and the important drug is quinine and mefloquine. Second group is aminoquinolines. Two types of groups are important: 4 aminoquinolines and 8 aminoquinolines. 4 chloroquine, the very common, very well known drug chloroquine and amidoquine, and 8 aminoquinolines, pyrimethamine. We have just seen pyrimethamine, very important drug, especially useful in the secondary type of tissue schizone which are formed by the Plasmodium vivax and ovale, due to which relapses occur after weeks, months and years, etc. Third group is phenanthrene derivative. Important drugs are halofentane, levofentane. Then the 4 late antagonists, diaminopyrimidines. Important drugs are pyrimethamine plain and with combination sulfadoxine and trimethoprim. There is another 4 antagonist, proguanil. Endoperoxides, important blood drugs, artemisinin, dihydroartemisinin, artemether and artesunate. These are different products. We will discuss this later on. Then quinones, atovaquone. Some antibacterial drugs also used as antimalarial, like sulfonamides itself, sulfadiazine and sulfadoxine, and tetracycline, especially doxycycline. And some combinations are also available there: mefloquine, pyrimethamine, sulfadoxine, under the name of title of FancyMef, etc. Now, as we have seen, bite from infected mosquito occur and sporozoites are released and they can attack to the tissue schizont. Remember, no drug kills sporozoites. First of all, drugs can kill tissue schizonts, as we have seen primaquine. So secondary schizonts, here main drug is primaquine. Then acute attack retrocyst form में artemisinin, chloroquine, quinine, mefloquine, pyrimethamine, and gabitocyte again primaquine etc. I1 proguanil. Now let's have in tabulated form different states and conditions of how we can treat malaria. For example, there may be cases of chloroquine patient who are sensitive to plasmodium falciparum, still they are responding to chloroquine. No resistance has developed yet, and plasmodium malaria infection. Here the drug is especially chloroquine phosphate. Simple dosage is written 1 gram followed by 500 milligram at 6 hours, 24 or 48 hours. This is schedule actually. Or similarly, it can be given 1 gram and then after 24 and then 500 milligram after 48 hours. Two different methodologies are there. If the patient is suffering from plasmodium vivax and ovale infection, here chloroquine is given in the same schedule as we have seen, but we must consider the patient must be normal regarding glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase activity. No from this genetically deficiency must be there. Patient must be normal. At the same time, primaquine must be added for 14 days to eradicate the secondary tissue schizont, which is commonly seen with vivax and ovale. Otherwise, if we will not add primaquine, acute attack will be treated with the chloroquine, but relapses will occur again. Here we have seen some alternative drugs also for infections from Indonesia, Papua, etc., and New Guinea and other areas. We have seen resistance to chloroquine. Here therapies listed for uncomplicated chloroquine resistant plasmodium plus is added with the primaquine. Primaquine must be added, remember, if infection is due to plasmodium vivax and ovale. Uncomplicated infection, those who are now resistant to plasmodium falciparum. First was who are sensitivity. Now if they are resistant, now chloroquine will not be useful because the patient is resistant, or actually the malaria, the parasite is resistant to chloroquine. Here is the Coartem. This is actually artemether 20 milligram and lumefantrine 120 milligram combination, Coartem. The 4 tablet of this combination is given twice daily for 3 days, and usually these resistant cases of plasmodium falciparum are treated. Some alternate drugs are also the Melronon. Here 4 tablets are given. Here total of 1 gram atovaquone and 400 milligram proguanil is present there in this Melronon. This is again given for 3 days. Or another methodology, mefloquine. 15 milligram per kg of body weight of mefloquine is given only once. Or third is 75 milligram of mefloquine is given first, and then 500 milligram of mefloquine is given in 6 to 8 hours. Or we can use quinine in the form of salt, quinine sulfate. The 650 milligram of quinine sulfate is given 3 times daily for 3 days, and we plus it with doxycycline 100 milligram twice daily for 7 days. Or we can use clindamycin 600 milligram twice daily for 7 days. Or there are some other artemisinin based combination treatments available there for these cases. If the second form was uncomplicated, now this is complicated, a severe form of infection of plasmodium falciparum is there. artesunate, again dosage schedule is given. Now in emergency, obviously it's parenteral preparation available, 2.4 milligram per kg body weight intravenously every 12 hours for only 1 day. Then daily for 2 additional days, followed by with 7 days oral course of doxycycline. Or we can adopt, instead of doxycycline, we can add clindamycin, or full treatment of combination of Coartem, Melloron, or we can use mefloquine. Now, or we can give now quinidine in two different methodology, 10 milligram per kg or 15 milligram per kg intravenously. If given 10 milligram, we will repeat earlier 1 to 2 hours. If 15 milligram, we can give over 4 hours, and then accordingly we can repeat as written here. Alternatively, we can use artemether 3.2 milligram per kg. Now this injection is given intramuscularly, and then we can halve the dose intramuscular injection, and obviously after this injection we follow the therapy with oral artesunate. And third form is alternative drug is quinine dihydrochloride. Quinine sulfate was oral and quinine dihydrochloride is injectable. It is also given intravenously 20 milligram per kg intravenously, then obviously 10 milligram per kg every 8 hours.